Hello, friends and lovers. What's up? It's Haelian, and we are celebrating something pretty special today. We have just crossed over 3,000 hours of playtime in Hades. I know, I can't believe it. It's crazy to think about. And I say we because, I definitely wouldn't have done it if, I didn't have everyone here watching me, that's for sure. But it's been fun. It definitely has been fun. It's crazy to think about because I remember... if I may reminisce for a brief moment, I remember over half of that time was actually spent in early access, which ended almost 3 years ago now. So it's just a crazy thought and a crazy memory to have right now. So how much time we've spent. Anyway, we're going to do something kind of special to kind of celebrate that, I guess. And so I'm going to try to do an explained. It's definitely not going to be an over-explained. An explained real-time speedrun in Hades, because I know there's probably lots of real-time speedruns out there, especially if you watch the best runs, the ranked number, the fastest runs, then there's not usually a lot of explanation or commentary on what's going on there. So I'm going to do my best. It's going to be quite difficult. There's a reason why you don't hear commentary, just because the focus is usually incredibly high. You know what I mean? So don't worry. Don't try to bother to look for me on the leaderboards. There's no point. So the first thing we're going to do, if you ever want to submit a speedrun of Hades onto speedrun.com, you need to show a death in your recording. So that's what we're going to do first. That's why we have some of those weird packs of punishment on back there. And then we'll explain the build a little bit first before we actually start the run. Because it only counts the time when you actually start the run, but you have to just show a death to prove that you don't know what's going on in the seed ahead of time, basically. Showing a death randomizes your seed to simplify things, and there's really no way to manipulate or know ahead of time what's going to happen exactly. But we're going to go over a little bit of everything to start, and then we're going to start the run, and since it's going to be measured in real time and not using traditionally what the game has, which is the in-game timer, it means decision-making matters. And that's what makes these runs really fun, is adding that extra factor where your decision-making can affect how fast your time is. So when you select boons and look at Karen wells, all that stuff matters, actually matters, whereas it was only helpful if you go by the in-game timer that Hades has to offer. That's really the only reason why you'd want to do this. There's also some fun and special categories out there where you kind of have to use real time. I'm talking about, they have a 3 weapons category where you use any 3 aspects and you go as fast across 3 aspects, and you include all the time in between the runs and everything like that. So I think that's the right thing to do, to make that a real time category, because again, you have to plan it out and think about what you're going to do. Do you change the mirror? Do you leave it just to save time? All these little things are really, really fun to think about and how you do it. Anyway, let's start with the mirror. Well, I guess I got to tell you what the build is. So it's going to be Hera bow, my favorite aspect and probably my favorite build here. It's going to be the aspect of Hera on the bow. So you load your casts into the bow, and then you launch them. We're going to aim for Aphrodite's cast. There's no reason why we shouldn't get it, honestly. And then here's the basic mirror setup. Not much to say here, I don't think. At this point, everything's pretty standard. You might say, what about duo boons or legendary boons? It's just the run is over and done with so fast, and we plan to have so much damage even without that kind of stuff that it kind of doesn't matter. It's just icing on the cake if it does happen. So that's why we have Aphrodite's keepsake. We want her cast Crush Shot, just super powerful with Hera. That's really all there is to it. The other big thing I highly recommend if you play with Hera or Beowulf is rebinding your cast button to something easier than just the B button on a controller, because you kind of need your thumb always on the attack and dash button, especially for something like this. So moving it over to the cast button is just kind of sloppy, especially if you need to actually charge the weapon like the bow. You need to keep your thumb on the attack button the whole time, right? And so this way I can charge it and load while we're charging and then unleash. And packs of punishment real quick. Extreme measures too. It makes it so the Lurny fight goes a little bit faster. Heads are grouped up more. Arena's a bit tighter, so it's just a bit easier to kill things. Force overtime makes enemies spawn faster. It does make the run quite a bit harder though, but yeah, it's a pretty big improvement. Tight deadline, just so we don't see survival rooms. Survival rooms usually good if you're going by the in-game timer, since it pauses the in-game timer. But we don't want that. We don't want a room where you are stuck in there for 45 seconds at a minimum, basically. All right, one sip of water because I'm going to have to be talking fast. You know what? No, never mind. I was going to get out the timer, but let's not. You'll have to time me yourselves, okay? And see how we do. But I think the world record for this category is under 13 minutes. Don't worry, we're not going to touch that. That took thousands and thousands of attempts on its own. Okay, anyway, let's get the run started. I'll explain everything I can. The time would normally start as soon as Zag touches the ground right there. We spam through all the dialogue, you get crush shot immediately. And then we kind of load and kill here. When it comes to Hera, kind of like one cast at a time, you kind of just get a feel for how many casts an enemy's gonna need to kill it over time. Definitely the hammer out of these two options. So there's no pause buffering to try to see like what's being offered or anything like that. Everything is just very raw. Okay, flurry shot. That's actually best in slot. That's amazing. Oh, Demeter is amazing. She is the second god we want the most now because she has Snowburst, incredibly powerful boon for a build like this, right? Every time you load a cast into the bow, emit a snowy burst around you. Great AoE effect. Ooh, that's really bad. Come on. Oh, why is it like the same stuff? It is still the same things. Okay, I guess we're taking rare crop. Okay, so that was terrible. We wasted all our rolls. We do have flurry shot though. This is sort of what happens. Probably if you're going for a top time. Amazing room right there, huh? See those enemies? If you're going for a top time, you'd probably just reset there. Or like plan to reset by the end of Tartarus. We don't necessarily want a lot of boons. We just want enough. We want the right boons. That's sort of the key here. Because we actually kind of want to semi-avoid menuing too much. You definitely don't go do that trial still. Trials are just much slower. Aphrodite boons are just not that good. Plus a palms here, and the palms are very helpful for powering up the cast. Great enemies so far, though. Enemies kind of matter. Enemies, not just kind of, they definitely matter a ton in these kinds of runs. The types of enemies you get will determine how fast things can go. You want armored enemies because you get fewer of them. Yeah, sure, they're a little bit chunkier, but it definitely weighs in your favor this way. We will take chaos here. We haven't seen the shop yet, so it's concerning that we might end up missing it if it's too late. Something castle related, please? That's fine. We have plenty of money, at least. I think that was Athena. Athena is not one of the gods that we want, really. I kind of messed up there. We were supposed to Meg, especially with our very low power level. So that could have been better. I don't really want the dash. Special it is. Maybe I should have just taken the attack boon in hindsight. Probably. I'm pretty sure there was one there. All right, we're gonna have to settle for Poseidon on the for the dash for a little bit of AoE in the upcoming. I think this might not be the meta anymore, trying to get splash dash with Hera specifically. If you got Snowburst, it's just totally unnecessary. Nice enemies, though. Epic dash, so that's something. We did miss the middle shot, as they call it. Nothing there. We did not get a Hermes boon, so things aren't super lucky, I'd say. No Snowburst. Got the best hammer. Kind of like middle of the road luck, I'd say. Kind of just average overall. Woo, okay. Do. This is fine. Losing a Death Defiance there, it really doesn't matter. Okay, let's see. So we still just really... do we really want Snowburst? It's actually kind of a good question. I'm not really sure. I hope so. Because I took Demeter's keepsake. You could have done Artemis there and try to get Artemis's attack boon. Here's Hermes. We really want Hyper Sprint, but the rolls are already kind of dead, is the problem. Okay. What do you got for us, Hermes? Help me. Hyper sprint, hyper sprint. Okay, we got it. The rarity isn't actually that big of a deal. I mean, it's nice. Ooh, okay, into Eurydice. This is actually kind of lucky. Coming back, coming back. I think, yeah, we do Nectar here. That way, hopefully we can affect the rarity of the next Hermes boon. It's not guaranteed. For a better hyper sprint, and maybe we can get a stronger snow burst as well while we're at it. Okay, crush shot, level 3 finally. Never skip the shop. This is actually a pretty strong asphodel. You can kind of tell just from the Eurydice and not missing this shop here. We're not going to buy a mystery boon, I think. Do we have rolls? Can't remember. Ah! Barge is the worst of the 3 possible mini-bosses. It's just the enemies take time to spawn. It's just very slow. Meg is kind of not super helpful here either. Just kind of awkward overall. Okay. So why is Flurry Shot good for this? I mean, it's mostly to get those cast out and fed really fast. It's just a pretty strong hammer for the bow overall, I'd say, too. We do actually have a roll we could use here. Please, game. Okay, there's Snowburst. Got something. Splash Dash kind of has an anti-synergy with Snowburst because it might just knock the enemies away from you. You definitely still want to hit up the cast here with this. Okay, make sure we get all that. Okay, crush shot, level 4, that's pretty good. There's a free Hermes, that's nice. Please, if we get rush delivery, this run will be on fire. Please, 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 please. Please, no. Attack speed was kind of okay. Oh! 75%, good enough for me. Okay, okay, okay. So now we have 75% global damage right after we dash. That's crazy talk. That's crazy talk. We do 1 dash, and then to kind of, yeah, I don't know how to describe it. Kind of. It's definitely a lot about just your decisions and trying to maximize how to get certain things than it is about execution still, I think. At least at what you're watching right here. Do. So this is now officially a luckier run, at least, especially in terms of the build. Please. It's because I left the egg alive. It's actually my fault. For some reason, leaving one of those eggs that spawns enemies there will make learning take a little bit longer to come out of the invincibility phase. Okay, so now I'll take Charon's keepsake and get totally screwed. Yeah, yarn. I even doubled back, hoping for something. There's 3 possible items there that could have helped a cast build like ours, right? But we just didn't get any of them. What can you do? There's actually 4 very useful items that could have appeared in that well, but nothing. Nada. A little bit of lag there. Okay. Bum. We'll still just do crush shot. It's probably about the time when that you'd want to consider splash dash. Elysium is just a forever long biome, not much to say about it. By the way, please let me know your questions if you got any about the game, about the run. I know like things are kind of just flying by. Ooh, triple shot, very nice. Okay, I really need an attack boon now. Really, really need an attack boon that isn't Athena's, preferably. I think I do the dash now. Didn't want to pay for an Athena boon, so I'll take Demeter's attack. Why are we having dialogue, my friends? Why are you taking so long? Okay. Looking good. Come on, go! Ah, it's doing that thing. I can't even describe the thing. So there's this mild bug where with Hera, possibly with Beowulf too, very nice, very lucky. I wonder if I should have just taken the money there at that point, honestly. If the game tried to load a cast for you in the weapon, and there's no cast to load, it might force you to go pick one off the ground before it lets you interact with other things. That's the best way I can describe it. I have no idea how else we would. Okay. I guess I will check this well. It's kind of an awkward position. Come on. Air Spangle is kind of okay. All right, Afro, swap the attack. Nice and easy. That's all I'm asking for, right? That's not too much. All right, all right. If I'm allowed to reminisce for a moment. Sweet Surrender is fine. Blown Kiss doesn't really do anything in this build, unfortunately. Focusing. I might stop talking for large chunks just because it is quite demanding, these kinds of runs, you know? Woo! Especially in Elysium, my god. Come on, buddy. Yeah, let me know what kind of questions you got. If, don't bother to ask me about Hades 2. I don't know anything about it, I'm afraid. Than you've already seen. I mean, of course I know about it. You better come ask me on stream while you're around. You know what I mean? Kind of low in the health. I remember my first, you can call it 32 heat run, but it was actually 120 back then, and heat was very weird. The Pact of Punishment was very different looking when it first came out. Okay. Got him. I remember my first high heat run. It was 120. 120 was the equivalent of 32 heat back then. And the heroes there were actually the final bosses at the time of putting on Hades Keepsake after buying all that stuff. The heroes were the final boss, and I remember I was like sweating. I was sweating so badly. I don't think it took like a ton of attempts, but I had like the cheesiest build ever imaginable. It was kind of glitchy and buggy. I don't know if I ever recorded that one, but I remember like I hated trying to do high heat stuff back then. I only like doing speedruns of the game. But yeah, you used to be able to just spam like the sword special like crazy. There was a hammer that made it faster too. That doesn't exist anymore. And then you could get Hermes special speed that scaled like crazy with it for some reason. Hopefully not too early. Not too early. Ooh, pretty nice fight. Swap the attack. Doesn't matter. Okay. You take the mini bosses here just because they're faster chambers than the average. Waiting for all the enemies to spawn in just takes forever in the regular chambers. That's the only reason. There's no way to control the sack. You are just at the mercy. You pray for it on the second path, and that's all there is to it. Whatever crazy crackpot theories you have, I'm afraid it's just not true. You know, it's just not how the game's wired. Unfortunately, we did not get the 2 sack. We got an easier mini boss at least, and we had Meg for it, who I don't think hit. So now I just take whatever door is closest now, really. Okay. I see people asking a lot about, well, what about like Artemis's Legendary for this build? What about getting Mirage Shot? What about this fancy boon, that fancy boon? I kind of brought it up earlier, but it's just kind of not worth thinking about for the most part. they're usually just super far off, and you want to minimize menus so much that, considering that kind of stuff, it's just totally overkill too, right? Like, you can see how well we're doing already. So in other words, when it comes to these high-level speedruns, you want as few boons as possible while still having the highest damage output. In other words, just get crazy lucky, you know? We got medium-high luck on this run, I'd say. I would describe this as medium-high. Pretty good. Obviously not a 2-sack is bad, but what can you do? Meg goes right away. Then we get up in there, all up in the business, and I somehow missed with a cast. Okay, trying to time the doodad a little bit too. Oh, come on, daddy. The dad keepsake. Okay. I'm actually gonna wait to load till we're next to him. I think that's worth it, usually. Especially since we have to dash anyway, kinda. Whoop! Got him. Really quick fight, huh? Pretty nice, huh? That's mostly the power of rush delivery, to be honest. Is there anything I didn't... There's probably 1,000 things I didn't cover, you know what I mean? It's a there's crazy, hectic, very fast-paced runs, obviously. That real-time factor really adds a lot of stress and just pressure to the whole thing. So shout out to the people that are able to do this consistently, much more consistent than I am. But it's a really fun way to play the game, and I recommend trying that out if you played for a while and you're like, I need something new to do in the old Hades. I really do think it's a great way to play if you haven't tried it. And then it just kind of takes a lot of playtime, I think, and muscle memory is definitely a big part of it, believe me. So just playing a lot. I mean, don't worry, you don't need 3,000 hours. Trust me, you don't need 3,000 hours to do this. But it definitely plays a big factor. Once you just start doing a lot, things just flow. You just kind of hit this motion where you don't even think about it. You just pick the things that appear on the screen, and it doesn't even become like a logical choice. It just becomes like, that is it. This is me, that kind of thing. Thank you all so much for watching. I really appreciate it. Let me know if you got questions in the comments. I'll be happy to answer it. I'm sorry my mind might have been scattered through the hectic run, but I'll do my best to let you know what I can give you in the comments. Like and subscribe if you haven't already for some weird reason. And yeah, I'll see you in the next video. Thank you all so much. Bye-bye. This time...